Good day, everyone, and welcome to this year's Cyber Apocalypse ETF. Today, I'll be talking about our most recent certificate, which is CWEE, the Certified Web Exploitation Expert. I'll talk about what it is, who's it for, what it covers, and how to get it. So, what is CWEE? The Hack the Box Web Exploitation Expert Certificate, HTB CWEE, is our most recent and most advanced web application pen testing certificate. CWEE is the successor to our CBBH certificate. When we start learning about web pen testing, we start to learn about the intro to web applications and web exploitation. We learn about common web vulnerabilities. We learn about manual and automated exploitation of various intermediate level web vulnerabilities. And then we can do the CBBH exam and get CBBH certified. At this level, we would be considered at the intermediate level of web exploitation. And if we want to pursue more advanced web application pen testing, we can pursue CWEE. It covers hard to find vulnerabilities of all sorts. It covers advanced web exploitation. It covers and thoroughly covers white box pen testing, as well as thoroughly covering exploit development. And I'll get into that in a bit. But after that, you would be CWEE certified. So basically, CWEE builds on the knowledge you gain from CBBH and takes you all the way to advanced web pen testing. Now, this level of web pen testing is especially required by some organizations like banks and governments who need this next level and top level of web application pen testing and web security. But who is CWEE for? This certificate is a perfect choice for senior penetration testers, for web penetration testers, especially advanced ones, for web developers, web security engineers, and source code reviewers. It is also very beneficial for those who are trying to do advanced bug bounty hunting. So basically, whoever is interested in identifying advanced web vulnerabilities would be suitable for CWEE. Anybody who passed CBBH should be a perfect fit to start pursuing CWEE. And those who passed CPTS but not CBBH can also start pursuing CWEE, since CPTS covers about 10 web modules, and they can perhaps do some of the remaining ones before starting CWEE. Now, let's get into the main part and discuss the CWEE scope. What does CWEE covers? While CBBH covered the vast majority of web vulnerabilities by teaching how to identify them and how to understand them, while also covering key principles on how to approach a web assessment and how to write a professional web assessment report. At this level, however, it isn't enough to basically just cover the vast majority of advanced web vulnerabilities and techniques, as they come in different forms and keep changing over time, and can also look different depending on the circumstances. This is why when we were developing CWEE and designing it, it was very crucial to consider what to cover and, most importantly, what not to cover. So from the start, we set the main goal for CWEE to be teaching how to identify advanced web vulnerabilities regardless of their forms and shapes, and not just a few select advanced web vulnerabilities. We heavily focused on techniques and processes while using common advanced web vulnerabilities as exercises and examples, through which we think the vast majority of important and crucial advanced web vulnerabilities were actually covered. We also followed a 50-50 approach when it comes to white box pen testing and black box pen testing. So the first half of the modules are covering black box pen testing, and the remaining are covering white box pen testing. For black box, obviously, we try to identify advanced web vulnerabilities from an attacker's POV, and we do the same with white box pen testing as well from an attacker POV. But at the same time, we cover code reviews, local testing of the web application, developing a proof of concept for the vulnerabilities that we identify, and at the end, patching and remediating all of those vulnerabilities. We put heavy emphasis on covering exploit development through various modules, not only the white box ones, and we also covered a lot of code reviewing techniques. So you'd be able to identify vulnerabilities in a large code base. And every one of the white box pen testing modules covers a slightly different technique and code reviews, so you learn various techniques and reviewing code bases. We also cover secure coding. So the white box pen testing modules cover how to patch the identified vulnerabilities in the code blocks. And we also have a dedicated secure coding module, which is the very last module in the path. Now, throughout all of this, we obviously cover a lot of advanced web vulnerabilities. We cover advanced injections, attacking advanced authentication mechanisms. We cover attacking HTTPS and TLS requests, blind web attacks, second order web attacks, bypassing advanced security filters, deserialization attacks, modern web exploitation techniques, and so on. Now, we think this covers the vast majority of common advanced web vulnerabilities, which makes you very competent with all of those vulnerabilities. But at the same time, the same processes and techniques can be used to identify future web vulnerabilities that are not known now, and even 0 days. We can go to the exams page on Hackthebox Academy and then visit the related job role path, which is the Senior Web Penetration Tester path. And we'd see a list of all the modules that are within this certificate and within this path. We actually recommend taking the modules one by one in the same order that they are in within the path. Because all of the modules have been specifically designed to be in that order, there are certain prerequisites and requirements that are covered in one module then can be learned in the other. For example, the intro to white box pen testing module starts the journey towards white box pen testing, and all of the modules that come after it are actually in white box pen testing. So starting with this module, you'd learn the processes and techniques about white box pen testing, and then all of the remaining modules after it try to cover slightly different techniques and processes that are in the same field. And the same goes for other types of processes and techniques and vulnerabilities. Finally, let's discuss how to get CWEE. First of all, as always, is to finish the related job role path, which in this case is the Senior Web Penetration Tester path. There are multiple ways we can get this path. The recommended way is getting the Gold Annual Subscription, which unlocks all of the modules up to level 3. Now, this also covers CBBH and CPTS and CDSA modules. It also includes a CWEE voucher within it and includes exercise guidance for the entire path. Even though this is a subscription, any modules you complete will remain unlocked in the future, including any future updates or reviews for the module. Next, we can purchase the modules in the path through buying individual cubes. There are 15 tier 3 modules, each of which cost about 500 cubes, which is 7,500 cubes. But remember that you get about 1,500 cubes back, so you only need about 6,000 or so. The difference here is that you will only be getting the CWEE modules because you are only unlocking those 15 modules. After that, you'll also need to purchase the CWEE exam voucher. You may also go with a monthly subscription like the Platinum subscription. That gives you 1,000 cubes a month, so you need about 6 months to complete all of the modules, which may be suitable for some people. Now, this method as well, you will only be getting the CWEE modules, and you will also need to get the CWEE exam voucher. Now, obviously, there's a way to get all of this free of charge, which is by participating in and winning this year's CACTF. Once you go through the entire path and complete all of the modules within it, you may proceed into taking the CWEE exam. It is a 10-day exam. It covers both white box and black box, just like the path. It's required reviewing large code bases, requires exploit development to automate your exploitation, and it requires patching the vulnerable code. So it is highly recommended before joining the exam that you thoroughly understand the entire path and all the vulnerabilities, processes, and techniques covered within it, and that you have a good grasp on white box pen testing in addition to the normal black box pen testing. This includes being able to go through a large code base and spotting a specific vulnerability within it, and then being able to take advantage of this vulnerability and exploiting it. And in certain cases, you will also need to write an exploit to be able to exploit this vulnerability. And finally, you will need to be able to patch this vulnerability such that the web application would no longer be vulnerable to the same vulnerability. If you have a good grasp on all of this, you should be ready for the CWEE exam. Now, it is true that this is an advanced exam. It can be a very challenging exam, but the path should be enough to pass the exam if you understand everything within it, like I said. Finally, after doing the CWEE exam, first of all, you will need to submit your report, as is the case with the other Hack the Box certifications. This exam, as an advanced exam, has higher requirements for the report grading, and the report needs to be written in Markdown. You will also need to provide any exploits that you developed throughout the exam, and you'll also need to provide patches for any vulnerabilities you identify through code analysis. Now, to make this easier for you, we do provide a guided template, which is a Markdown template that covers all of the things that you need to cover within this report. Then you wait for the results. We usually deliver the results within 20 working days. You either pass and get feedback on your attempt and your report, or perhaps some people fail and they will also get feedback and how to improve before their free retake on the second attempt. Now, to do the free retake, you need to submit a report and you need to take it within 14 days. And once you pass, it is time to celebrate because getting CWEE is definitely a major achievement and you should give yourself a pat on the back. What about after passing? You should employ your knowledge that you gained throughout this path and throughout this certificate. At this point, you should definitely be market ready for advanced web pen testing. You should be able to carry advanced bug bounty hunting and at the same time be ready for advanced job roles in the field. And this is it from my side. I hope you've enjoyed this talk and that I've covered all of your questions about CWEE. If you have any other questions, please post them down in the chat and I'll try to answer them. Thanks, everyone.